Good morning, students. Now we're going to move to chapter 10, trigonometric function and equation. Let's bring back our memory what we've learned when you study IGCSE. So normally when we define trigonometry, there is a right angle triangle all the time, right? And then an angle. And from this angle, we define opposite, which is opposite side of this angle, and adjacent, nearby side, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Then we define trigonometry as SOHCAHTOA. Do you remember? SOHCAHTOA. So means sine theta is defined as opposite divided by hypotenuse. Ka means cosine theta is defined as adjacent over hypotenuse. Toa means tangent theta can be defined as opposite divided by hypotenuse. So by using this definition, let's try to solve the question number 1 and 2. So we need to find the value of x. So since the angle is here and 6 centimeter is hypotenuse and x is opposite, so it's related to O and H, which means so. So by using sine 40 degrees, and then opposite, which is x over hypotenuse, which is 6, so that you can find the length of x as 6 times sine 40 degrees. You can use your calculator to find this value. And the second question is, find the value of theta in the diagram. Okay. So what is given is two sides, and you need to find the angle by using it. So from this angle, this one 2 is opposite, this one 5 is adjacent. So O and A are given. It means that SOHCAHTOA, O and A represent, O and A's are here, so that it's TOA. So tangent theta equals O and A, which is 2 over 5. Therefore, by using inverse function, you can find theta as tangent inverse 2 over 5. Let's see the third question. The length of the two shorter sides of a right angle triangles are 5 centimeter and 12 centimeter. So there is a right angle triangle, and then the two shorter sides means hypotenuse is the largest one, right? So that except hypotenuse, two sides are given as 5 centimeter and 12 centimeter. So what you need to find the hypotenuse is, yes, Pythagorean theorem. So hypotenuse is square root 5 square plus 12 square. By using your calculator, you can find the value as 13 centimeter. And question number 4 is a simple quadratic equation. I really want you to identify this one as perfect square, which is x minus 1 square equals 0. Therefore, x equals 1. So when you learn IGCSE, the definition of trigonometry is always using right angle triangle. The thing is, let me erase this one first. The thing is, if we define trigonometry by using right angle triangle as SOHCAHTOA, there is one thing that we can figure out, because theta is bounded by less than 90 degrees. Because theta is interior angle of a triangle, and since there is a right angle triangle, and considering that the sum of interior angles of triangle is 180, it means that theta, this angle, should be less than 90 degrees. It means that we cannot define trigonometry when theta is over 90 degrees. However, let's bring back our memory. When you study IGCSE, you already draw The graph of sine, graph of cosine, graph of tangent. So for example, I'm not sure whether you remember or not, but y equals sine x. You learned this graph as x and y, and the maximum value of sine is 1, minimum value of sine is -1, and then it's a periodic graph with 360 degrees as its period and going again and again and again in this way. And you define cosine graph. I am going to draw a cosine graph on the same coordinate grid. Cosine graph is in this way, and also tangent graph. So basically, you learned how to draw sine graph, cosine graph, tangent graph. It means that mostly this graph is, of course, the x, the theta, the angle exist more than 90 degrees, right? More than 90 degrees, more than 90 degrees. But there was no explanation how we can define trigonometry when the angle is larger than 90 degrees. There was no explanation. And then now we're going to learn how to define trigonometry without any limit of theta. It means that no matter the value theta has, trigonometry can be defined. Even theta is negative number, trigonometry can be defined. Even the theta is more than 360, still the trigonometry can be defined. As the graph is already shown to you, you already knew this. Just we don't know how to define the trigonometry when the angle is more than 90 degrees, because the definition that we learned is only by using right angle triangle. So now we're going to change the definition of trigonometry from the beginning. I am going to draw a Cartesian plane first. And then I'm going to draw a circle with center 0. So let's define this circle as center, its origin, and the radius is r. And then now we are going to define the new way of the trigonometry. So the angle is going to be measured from the right side of x-axis, which means this side of right side of x-axis. And then angle is going to be measured from here by clockwise. No, sorry, anti-clockwise. And then draw a line. Then we define this angle as theta. And then if the angle is measured anti-clockwise, we can call it as positive angle, positive angle. If we draw this line from here clockwise, we call this theta as negative angle. So for example, if this size of angle is 40 degrees, and then it's going to be just 40 degrees. But the angle size is 40 degrees, but if I want to measure it by this direction, we call it as negative 40 degrees. However, of course, I can measure this angle from here, following by anti-clockwise in this way, right? Which is considering the one revolution of a circle is 360, it should be 360, 320 degrees because this angle size is 40 degrees. In this case, we can call this angle as 320 degrees. So basically, the angle size 320 degrees is same as negative 40 degrees. They basically is equivalent. It's equivalent to, of course, you can measure this angle like a more than one turn, one revolution, and then 360 degrees, which is 360 degrees plus, sorry, 320 degrees. So in total, 680 degrees. It represents the same line. And then let's see, this is a theta, then this is r. Then of course, since this is a Cartesian plane, you can find the coordinate of this one. You can find the coordinate this one. Let's define this coordinate as x comma y. And then considering that x comma y is on the circle, it should be satisfied with the circle equation, which is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Let's bring back your memory. The circle equation when radius is r and its center is a comma b, and then circle equation can be defined as x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. Since its center is origin, we substitute 0 and 0 to a and b, right? That's how we can find the circle equation in this way. So every point on this circle, x and y, they satisfy this equation. And then now we are going to define sine theta as x y over r. We define cosine theta as x over r. We define tangent theta as y over x. Please remember this definition. Then actually it is connected to the original definition that we've learned from IGCSE. Let me show you. So since this coordinate is x comma y, the length of this one is x, the length of this one is y. Of course, because since this is the first quadrant, x is positive, y is positive, so that the value of x can be considered as the length of this right angle triangle. Y is also as a positive value. It can be considered as length of this right angle triangle. And then SOHCAHTOA. So it means that sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So from this angle, opposite is y, right? So it's going to be y over hypotenuse. The length of hypotenuse is exactly the same as the radius of this circle, which is r. And ka means that cosine theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. From here, adjacent of this angle is x, right? Therefore, x over the length of hypotenuse is r. And TOA, opposite, which is y over adjacent x. So therefore, if we define trigonometry by using this circle, and then it is actually, sorry, actually it observes the original definition you've learned from IGCSE, right? And also, you can expand the size of theta as much as you want. You can make theta as obtuse angle more than 90 degrees. Also, you can extend this theta as more than 180 and also negative number. And also you can extend theta as more than 360 degrees, right? by using this definition. So please remember this definition. Sine theta equals y over r. Cosine theta equals x over r. Tangent theta equals y over x. You need to remember this definition. If you don't remember it, you're not gonna understand how it represents the theta, how theta can be, how theta can be expressed more than 90 degrees. How we can expand the definition of trigonometry. So please, please, please remember this one, okay? I am going to draw the circle again one more time. X-axis and Y-axis. Let's draw a unicircle. Let's draw a circle again. And as I told you, this circle, the center of this circle is origin. And then draw a line. Let's say draw a line here. Then I am going to give you one coordinate, which is, let's say, 4,3. Then you can define theta here, right? Okay. Then 4,3. Then since the circle equation is x squared plus y squared equals r squared, actually you can find the value of r, right? So 4 squared plus 3 squared equals 25. It means that 5 squared. So from here you can find radius as 5. Okay, so this one is 5. Then let's calculate sine theta by the definition y over r, which is the y coordinate, x coordinate and y coordinate, 3 over 5. Cosine theta equals x over r, x coordinate is 4 and y coordinate r is 5. And tangent theta equals y over x, which is 3 over 4. Do you understand? And of course, you can find the size of theta because theta equals sine inverse 3 over 5. Let me use my calculator. So this angle is actually 36.9 degrees. Okay, then let's move this line. Let's move this line. Well, I am going to choose a coordinate reflected by y-axis, which is negative 4,3. Then we can draw a line joining the origin and this coordinate. Then the theta can be measured from here to here. And let's see, since theta here is 33.9 degrees. And as you can see, this one is same as this one. So 36.9 degrees. So that you can find the value of angle theta here equals 180 minus 36.9 degrees, which is, what is it? 143.1 degrees. Then by using the definition, sine theta equals, sine theta in this case, sine 143.1 degrees equals y over r. Since x is negative 4, y coordinate is 3, so 3 over 5 because still this coordinate is on the circle so that the radius is still the same as 5. Cosine 143.1 degrees equals x over r. Since the x coordinate is -4, so that -4 over r, 5. And tangent 143.1 degrees, which is y over x, means that 3 over -4, so -3 over 4 is the value of the trigonometry regarding the angle 143.1 degrees. Now I am going to reflect this coordinate to the x-axis here. And then the coordinate is going to be -4, -3, and it is located on the third quadrant. This is first quadrant, second quadrant, and the third quadrant. And let's draw a straight line joining this coordinate and its origin. Please remember that basically this angle should be the same as 36.9 degrees. However, when we measure the angle, I told you that the right side of the x-axis is the baseline. You need to measure the angle from here, which direction? Anti-clockwise direction, this one. So this angle is 180 plus 36.9 degrees, which means 180 plus 36.9 degrees. So 216.9 degrees is actually the angle of this one by the definition. And then by the definition, sine 216.9 degrees. It's y over r. Since the y coordinate is -3, so -3 over, of course, it's still on the circle with radius 5, so that radius didn't change yet, 5. Cosine 216.9 degrees equals x over r. The coordinate of x is -4, so that -4 over 5. Tangent 216.9 degrees, which is y over x. It means that -3 over -4, since negative sign exists on the numerator and on the denominator at the same time, it's positive, so 3 over 4. And then I am going to reflect this one again to the y-axis. And the coordinate is going to be 4, -3. And I can join this line. So let's find the trigonometric value regarding this pink line. Consider that this angle is 36.9 degrees. And then again, the angle should be measured right side of the x-axis, directed by anti-clockwise. So the angle is here. We need to find this angle size. But actually this angle size can be measured as one full turn and then come back 36.9 degrees, right? So you can calculate this angle as 36 degrees minus 36.9 degrees, which is 323.1 degrees. Let's find the sine, cosine, and tangent value of this angle. So sine 323.1 degrees, defined as y over r, since the y coordinate of this point is -3 over 5. Cosine 323.1 degrees, which is x over r, and 4 over 5. Tangent 323.1 degrees. It's going to be y over x means negative 3 over 4 is the tangent value. I really wonder whether you will understand or not. I hope that you understand. Actually, this is purely about definition. So what you need to do is firstly, remember the definition, and by using the definition, just substitute the right value on the formula of the definition. And there is one more thing that we need to observe from here. So on the first quadrant here, all those values, sine, cosine, tangent, they are all positive. Sine, cosine, tangent, they are all positive. On the second quadrant, which means the blue one, the only positive value is sine value, right? So sine value is only the positive one. On the third quadrant, the green one, the only positive value is tangent, right? So tangent is only positive one. On the fourth quadrant, the only value which is positive is cosine, right? Cosine value. It is actually very natural, so please remember all the values, sine, tangent, and cosine. I am going to explain it to you why. So students, so if this angle theta is first quadrant theta, first quadrant angle means it's between 0 to 90 degrees, right? Because as I told you, when we measure the angle, we start from the right side of the x-axis, following by the anti-clockwise direction, right? So this way. So it's like a 0 to 90 degrees. Then the coordinate on the first quadrant, of course, x, comma, y, they are all positive values, right? And then r as a radius is always positive. So sine theta, by the definition, which is y over r, cosine theta, x over r, tangent theta, y over x. All those values are positive. So all those trigonometry values, they are positive. Let's move to the second quadrant. Again, the theta is going to be measured. It should be measured from the right side of the x-axis and the anti-clockwise theta. And then the value of theta should be from here, 90 degrees, more than 90 degrees. And then it should be less than 180 degrees, right? Less than 180 degrees, because it's more than 180 degrees. It's going to move to the third quadrant. So less than 180 degrees. And then let's observe the coordinate of this quadrant. The value of x is negative, right? Because it's here. The value of y is still positive. Therefore, sine theta, which is defined as y over r, since r is always positive, so that it should follow the y sign, right? In this case, the sign of y is positive, so that the sign is positive. However, cosine theta, defined as x over r, since the sign of x on the second quadrant is negative, so that cosine should be negative. Tangent theta Tangent theta defined as y over x. Since y is positive but x is negative, therefore the tangent value should be negative. So the only positive value is sine on the second quadrant. Let's observe the third quadrant then. Third quadrant. X comma y. As you can see, each value of x and y on the third quadrant, they are negative, right? And then the angle measured from the right side of x-axis following by the anti-clockwise. Theta. This theta should be more than 180 degrees and less than 270 degrees. Then, by the definition of sine theta, which is y over r, since the y sign is negative and r is positive, it's negative. Cosine theta, which is defined as x over r, x is negative, r is positive, so that it should be negative. However, tangent theta, which is defined by y over x. Since y is negative and x is negative, so negative divided by negative is positive. So the only positive value is tangent in this case. The last one, when the coordinate is located on the fourth quadrant, and then the x is positive and y is negative. And in this case, the theta is more than 270 degrees and less than full turn, 360 degrees. And then sine theta, y over r, which is y is negative, so that it should be negative. Cosine theta, x over r, since x is positive here, so that its value should be positive. Tangent theta equals y over x is negative. Therefore, cosine theta is the only one which is positive. So you need to remember everything. So firstly, I want you to understand how it consists. Secondly, you need to remember it, okay? So when theta is located in the first quadrant, it means that when theta is between 0 to 90 degrees, all the trigonometry values are positive. However, when theta is located on the second quadrant, it means that when the value of theta is more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. And then sine is only one which is positive, and the other cosine and tangent, they are negative. When theta is located on the third quadrant, it means that theta's value is between 180 to 270. And then tangent theta is the only one which is positive. And then, sorry, and when the theta is located on the fourth quadrant, and which means theta is between 270 to 360, then cosine is the only value which is positive. So to make you remember easy, let's choose the first letter of each one, but starting from here, C, A, S, and T. So we call it as cast. Okay, it's cast. We just remember it in this way. Then let's combine this fact with sine, cosine, and tangent graph we've learned when you learned IGCSE. I am going to draw a sine graph fast. So let's say it's 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, 360 degrees, and then 490 degrees. So this one unit represents 90 degrees, and in this direction, negative 90 degrees. And then let's draw the graph of sine y equals sine x. Of course, you can draw this graph by using your calculator. However, how about by using the definition we just learned, okay? To make it easy, I am going to make this radius as 1. It doesn't matter because trigonometry is about ratio. So no matter the radius size is, the ratio is always the same. So this coordinate is 1, 0. This coordinate is 0, 1. This coordinate is negative 1, 0. This coordinate is 0, negative 1. And then this line, it is same as right side of x-axis, right? So, and it doesn't move at all. So this line represents theta equals 0. So in this case, x equals 0. The angle is 0. Then by the definition of sine, which is y coordinate over r, this y is different of this one. Don't be confused, okay? Don't be confused on it. This y represent coordinate on the circle. This y is defined as sine value, right? So coordinate on a circle. So sine 0 means the coordinate of y is 0 here, 0 over 1. Therefore, it's 0. So when x equals 0 means the angle is 0, then the value of sine is 0 here. And when the angle is 90 degrees, which means here, then the sine value is, it's going to be confused. I'm not going to use y here, okay? Just sine 90 degrees equals y coordinate, which is 1 over r. Here, 1 equals 1. So therefore, it's 1. Sine 180 degrees means that theta is here, 180 degrees. And then y over r. So y coordinate is 0 here, and r is 1, which is 0. And this one, when theta is 270, then sine 270 degrees equals negative 1 over 1 equals negative 1 here. So you can draw this graph by using the definition, and it explains everything. And also, this one is the first quadrant, the angle. And the angle is angle is located in the first quadrant. Sine is positive. Remember cast. When the angle size is between 90 degrees to 180 degrees, the angle is located on the second quadrant on the circle, on a circle. And in this case, sine value is positive. As you can see, this one is positive, right? When angle size is between 180 to 270 degrees, which means here, third quadrant, and then tangent is the only value which is positive. It means the sine is negative. As you can see, sine is negative, right? Fourth quadrant as well, sine is negative. And between 360 to 450, it becomes again the first quadrant, right? So that it's going to be positive. So it explains everything you've learned when you studied for IGCSE, even though at the time you didn't know how it could be like this. You can just use the calculator and then you just constructed a graph. But you didn't know why at the time. Now you knew. Okay, students, since it's already time's up, so that I am going to wrap up here. However, let's find your homework. Therefore, I am going to set a homework. Exercise 10A, question number 1 to 5. Exercise 10B, question number 1 to 3. Please do these questions on your blue book. And also, I really want you to write down all these things on your blue book and try to remember it, okay? Okay, I am very sorry for not attending school due to my illness, and see you on Monday. Bye bye.